Can we talk about this? So Todd McShay, our teammate, he went on Bill Simmons' podcast and he talked about Penn State, and he alluded to the fact that there is one man who might be holding them back for their next head coach, and he's a man I mentioned a little bit earlier, Jimmy Sexton, who is an agent amongst all of the agents in all of sports. He's Herb Street's agent. He's Nick Saban's agent. He's 14 of the 16 SEC coaches, head coaches agent right now. He also has players like Sam Darnold, Drake May. He's everywhere. He's CAA. So, I mean, look, Jimmy Sexton is a name. If you don't know, you need to know. So the one big question is, who is Jimmy Sexton? I want to dissect this a little bit with you guys, because now they're saying, McShay was saying basically that Penn State might be boxed out of some of their candidates because Jimmy Sexton's not happy with the way Pat Kraft decided to get rid of James Franklin, who's also one of his clients. Van, when did you come into your first kind of, meeting with Jimmy Sexton in your life when you learned about who he is? And then two, how much do you think Jimmy Sexton is actually kind of playing Game of Thrones and putting all these coaches in different places?
We say that we need a commissioner of college football. A lead commissioner would essentially manage the sport, would bend the sport to his will based upon what he thinks is best on the sport, would control different things about the sport and make the sport run. We do have a commissioner. Jimmy Sexton is the commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
He is the commissioner of college football. Like, his power and his influence decide where the coaches go to coach. It decides the economic breakdown and flow of the sport. The coaches themselves are actually the owners in college football. They're the guys who do all the hiring. They're the guys who have the most power. Can they be fired by presidents and ADs? Sure. But once that happens, it has got to be a gigantic job. The people who actually run, who are the cultural owners of college football, are the coaches. Those coaches, the majority of them, the ones that really matter, they have a boss. They have a guy that moves them around and tells them what to do and gets them opportunities. And that guy is Jimmy Sexton. The story is amazing. Do you know how Jimmy Sexton ends up as an agent?
Illuminate us.
Yeah, tell us.
He was Reggie White's roommate in college. He's Reggie White's roommate in college. He leverages that into being Reggie White's agent when he comes out. And through a career that took him to the NBA, that took him to the to college football, to pro football, he ends up being a guy that not only essentially controls the coaching carousel in college football, but also controls the way the coaching carousel in college football is covered. Because on the most watched show in college football, which is not Ringer Tailgate currently, but will be one day.
Not yet. We're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to obviously manicure and massage the conversation around Lane Kiffin and the coaching carousel in a way that made sure his clients did not come out looking bad.
Blame the schedule. Don't blame Lane.
So the schedules in college football, the coaches make them, right? The coaches schedule these games. All of those guys work for Jimmy Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of those guys work for him. If we want to get Billy Gill's opt-out into college football, we don't need to talk to the NCAA. We need to talk to Jimmy Sexton.
We need to talk to CAA.
We need to talk to CAA because he could get it done. Right now, in the college football playoff, he's got, let's say that these teams, so Oklahoma, we talk about the SEC. Let's talk about the teams that are in the playoff. Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, kind of. I mean, Sexton Client is not there now. Oregon, Georgia. Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, Brent Venables, Kalen DeBoer. Further down, Mario Cristobal, Jimmy Sexton. Steve Sarkisian, Jimmy Sexton. Utah, Kyle Whittingham. Well, that's Kyle Whittingham's not. He's the coach of Utah. I don't know why that jumped out of my mind. Like, Jimmy Sexton. I don't know why when I saw
Will
Utah.
Stein, the new head coach of Kentucky, Jimmy Sexton. All of these guys, right? Those are playoff wannabes down there. All of his clients. So if there is a chance
to redo the college football playoff or to think about it. If the coaches have a say, right? If it's a conversation that involves the coaches, what are the chances that it doesn't involve the power play that is behind the coaches, right? The power player. If there's a change in the actual yearly schedule of college football and the coaches get a say, what is the chance that it doesn't involve this guy and making decisions for his clients that are advantageous to his clients? I can't think of, besides, Scott Boras and, maybe David Falk, a couple of guys in the past, I can't think of anyone in any sport that has as much of an influence on a particular sporting culture as this guy does on college football right now. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it is fucking remarkable. And everybody is winning. He's winning because these salaries are going crazy. Jimmy Sexton just had us go from paying Brian Kelly $100 million to paying Lane Kiffin $100 million. LSU didn't win really anything. But you know who did win? Jimmy Sexton, twice. He's 2-0 against LSU. So, yeah. I mean, when we're talking about all of this stuff, I looked into his career. He seems to be just a go-getter. But the reality is there is a consolidation of influence that exists in college football at the top level that is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, actually, Billy, is Jimmy your agent? Are you rep by CAA? You don't have to answer that.
That's how he has his Heisman vote. Yeah. It's from Jimmy.
Yeah, are you a CAA guy?
Jimmy, you want to vote, Joe? I can make some calls.
I do want to vote. I said that last week. You should have been.
Joel's so upset that Billy has
your assistant.
Vote.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that assistant. I was a voter in the Heisman Trophy. Did y'all ever get to vote in the Heisman Trophy?
Is that about pies, like pumpkin pie?
It was about
apple pie.
The Thick Six, big guy touchdowns.
Oh, okay.
Who'd you vote for?
Lineman. Yeah, the Thick Six.
Who'd you vote for? Billy asked.
I mean, it was like 4 years. So
okay.
Which one? So you voted for a lineman?
Yeah, I voted for a lineman.
It was the Thick Six. Which one did you think was the thickest?
Where was it about?
Which one would you wrestle in 227?
Yeah. Wait a second. Hold on. Wait. You said that you voted in the Thick Six.
Yeah.
When I think thick, I think of Ketoy Johnson, white chocolate. I think of that's what I think when I think thick. When I think of thickness, you know what I'm saying?
I think of Vince Wilfork.
I mean, there's a lot of thick has many different meanings. I mean, you can look it up. My friend Stephen Fatsis, who wrote a book, Stephen Fatsis wrote a book.
Didn't even know his name.
Well,
he's his friend.
I got distracted. Stephen, I know your name, man. Come on, bro. He wrote a book about the dictionary. Anyway, so there's he wrote a book about dictionaries called Unabridged.
What, did he annotate the dictionary?
Bro, I'll tell you, it's actually very fascinating.
Kind of genius.
It's very fascinating. It's a very good book. It's about just like the history of how words get put in the dictionary.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
If you think about it, just think about how a word becomes something enough that they'll include in the dictionary. The whole concept, the history of dictionaries. It's actually a really good book. You should guys check it out. And he had that motherfucker packed. He had a book event here in DC, man. He had that whole packed out, man. It was crazy. But the best attended book event I've ever been to.
What the fuck are you talking about right now? Are you
you asked me?
His friend Steven Stephen.
Okay, like what?
You
this nigga book. Like what are we?
Van,
like, what?
You the one that slapped me down because you were talking about.
We're talking about Jimmy Sexton.
Jimmy Sexton, I think.
Van, but you were talking about thickness, and I went to Heisman Trophy. Okay, let me get back.
Did you lose your vote?
Let me get it. Yeah, they just stopped giving it out. They don't do the Heisman Trophy anymore.
Oh man.
Anyway, you would because you all distracted me with that bullshit, man.
We didn't ask about your friends.
Yeah, all right. Jimmy Sexton. So anyway, the thing is Jimmy Sexton. I was trying to think of how to describe him. I was like, is he like the white World Wide Wes or like the white Al Heyman? Al
Heyman is a good comparison.
Yeah, you don't see any pictures of Jimmy on the, for the. Well, you can look him up. I mean, obviously, but he's not a guy that is desperate to be in front of the microphone. right? Which is
no,
why,
he's the opposite. He has actively tried to make it so that you don't know who he is, and he wants it to be known that he's actually not doing any of the. He's like, I'm just doing the deals. You know, if you read anything about him, he's like, I'm trying to keep my hands out of the business. I pull for both my coaches. I don't like when they play each other. I mean, he plays it perfectly.
I respect it, man. Also, you know, I guess the thing is like, if you care about journalism ethics and college football media coverage, that's one thing, right? What are people alleging that Jimmy Sexton is actually doing that we should care about?
So I'll say this is what I'll say.
Okay.
What he's saying is probably true, right? But this is the deal. So Sexton's first client was Tommy Tuberville, right? His first major coaching client, Tommy Tuberville, when Tommy Tuberville was coaching Ole Miss. He negotiated a contract with Tommy Tuberville that made his departure from Ole Miss easier if the school's chancellor or athletic director left. The reason why I say that is because he is negotiating these contracts. This is the biggest deal. But his ability to negotiate those contracts changes the way college football works. As he gains more power, he gains more leverage in his negotiations with a school. As he gains more leverage, he puts more things in the contracts that are friendly to the coaches.
Yeah.
Those standards in the contracts then become the norm.
Right.
So
It gets
essentially,
copycatted. Yeah.
his negotiations are like adding laws into the constitution of college football. They change the money. That changes the calculation. They give the coaches this type of flexibility, which changes the pot. All of that stuff, the more power you have, the more influential every single thing that you do is. And because he's never actually really thinking about, which he shouldn't be, the good of the overall game, yet he is negotiating on behalf of guys whose job it is to keep an eye on the quality of the game. He's essentially, in a way, informing what it is they do and how it is that they do it. And the fact that none of the other places could hire coaches and do stuff until the Kiffin domino fell, and then it went so fast, and the only person, some schools were happy, some schools were sad. The only person that was completely happy was Jimmy Sexton. So there's nothing nefarious about any of it.
Right.
Just the question is that
he decides when the domino falls.
he decides when the domino falls. Everything, all the schools, Auburn, LSU, Florida, Alabama, whomever, Penn State, all of these are waiting to see what his clients do.
Right. I mean, so the thing is that, and I guess it depends on your idea of labor, right? Because I think the base labor force that I have the most empathy for in the whole equation are the
Assistants.
players. No, players. The players are the labor. What? No. I don't give a fuck about them either. I mean, I want them to be treated well, but I'm on the side of labor in this. So like, I don't give a fuck about what happens to the institutions, how they had to come up with the money, what the buyouts are, whatever else, and in the broader implications, up to a point, right? Because I mean, I guess the thing is that if you agree that college football is never more popular than it's ever been, there's more eyes on it, it's, you know, whatever, and you think the game is in a good place, cool. If you think that like the escalation of these contracts is going to lead to bad financial decisions that will impact non-revenue sports and so on, and it has, then I buy that too, right? But on the whole, with what Jimmy Sexton is doing, I'm like, man, he's getting more money for his clients out of these big institutions that got the money to spend it. So I'm usually with that. With the caveat, the other caveat that like, if you got all that power, man, you need to get some more brothers on the wall, Jimmy Sexton. You got all that power, put some brothers on the wall.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did want to.
What would be your idea? You really going Huey P. Newton all day today. You know, like what would be your example? What would Jimmy Sexton putting brothers on the wall look like to you?
Oh, well, I mean, there would be. I guess the thing is, so the most nefarious accusation against Jimmy Sexton is that the people that he employs work to put out certain narratives about certain candidates and certain jobs, and other people that hardens, right? And it affects like who goes where and where the money goes and where the opportunities are, right? Like that, is that the most Is that the most nefarious accusation against Jimmy Sexton?
I don't know that any of these things.
I don't think anything's nefarious.
It's not
I think it's more.
but I'm just saying, like, it's the thing that is like the thing that most would say is leveraged against them. Well, then I would say, like, all right, well, you can put the names out of Danton Lynn, the defensive coordinator at USC. They made a big improvement right there.
Tim
Why isn't
Skipper.
his name? Tim Skipper. Why aren't those names out there with all those other guys? When I heard all offseason this hiring cycle, man, this is a really bad hiring cycle, bro. You know, because nobody thought about hiring anybody other than the names that everybody had talked about, like Matt Rule and, you know, I mean, they don't even talk about poor Matt Campbell anymore over at Iowa State, you know, but it's just like the same few names were in those mixes. And I'm like, yo, if you're Jimmy Sexton and he actually has this power and he exerts it in that way, then it was like, well, I would like for you to put some more brothers on the wall. Like a brother could have had the Oklahoma State job, right? Or whatever.
Eric Morris going from North Texas.
Man, I like Eric Morris. I wouldn't mind if Eric Morris was my coach.
Summerall and Eric Morris, for the record, are both coaching their teams in the playoff, which is why Jimmy Sexton was trying to put that narrative out for Lane Kiffin, because he's like, these guys are doing it. Why can't Lane do it? That was another angle that felt like it was coming from the Sexton regime. I did want to bring this point up, too. Jimmy Sexton he's a Tennessee guy. You mentioned Reggie White, obviously. So he got Phil Fulmer the job at Tennessee back in 1992. He got Lane Kiffin hired at Tennessee. He also helped Lane Kiffin navigate leaving Tennessee to go to USC. So for a lot of people that are like, how could Lane do this? He's already done it before with Tennessee. Maybe he had some experience. Well, Jimmy Sexton has already helped him do that one time. So to do it again, that was no threat to them. Yeah, it was maybe a little bit higher stakes because it's one state over and there's a rivalry and they play a rivalry game every single year. But like, they have done this act before together. So like, that's the other kind of thing with Jimmy Sexton. It's like, he was never afraid to make this move. And neither was Lane, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, with the coaches being as, hired gunnish as they are right now, part of the reason is because of the money. Part of the reason is because of the power to leave and the leverage that they have over the programs. And part of that is because the business of the game has been reshaped by a power broker that sits at the top of the sport. I mean, there's not anything necessarily wrong with it, but when we talk about what's changed about college football and we talk about NIL and we talk about the transfer portal, we oftentimes don't talk about coaching and the way that the coaches move around and the contracts that the coaches are getting, and that might be by design. We might not be having those conversations because there might be people who really don't want us to have them.
And that's maybe the nefarious part that you could allude to a little bit, because that's part of by the design. It's the Wizard of Oz. There is a wizard.
Is Nick Saban going to go on to game day and say that this shit is fucked up?
No.
If he thinks it's fucked up? Is he going to go on there and say that? No, he's not going to say that. He's not going to say that because it's all in the family. He's not going to do that.
Man, it's just interesting.
It's mafioso, yeah.
I don't disagree, but I just the prospect of Jimmy Sexton telling Nick Saban what to do, man. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that it's not.
If somebody's cutting you that check, though, Joel, like if someone's getting you hundreds of millions of dollars, at some point you're going to be like, I'm going to listen to this guy.
Do you think that Nick Saban thinks that Jimmy Sexton has any impact or influence over his life whatsoever? Do you
fucking right?
I think he's made it better. Yeah, he's made a lot of money.
For a second.
I bet you Nick Saban thinks, man, I could hire fucking No Limit Sports Agency to get me a good deal.
Well,
but you know what's funny? It's just you always tell on yourself. You bring up No Limit Sports, right?
Because No Limit Sports Williams.
Hold
on.
Williams. This ain't racism. Don't do
that. No Limit Sports is one of the all-time examples of this. No Limit Sports came in. Master P had Ricky Williams, right?
Yeah.
They negotiated. Man, this is shout out to my people, man. First of all, I'm not in no way dissing. They negotiated a contract with Ricky Williams that is absolutely absurd. It's just a fact. Yeah. It's absurd. I think Ricky Williams then hires a little while after that Lee Steinberg to come in. Yeah. And he brings in Lee Steinberg.
Jerry Maguire, for people that don't know at home, yeah.
Yeah, so he hires Lee Steinberg to come in. Lee Steinberg has to come in and get Ricky Williams what is essentially a standard to almost regular NFL contract for a guy of that ilk. So Ricky Williams, who was for a lot of people, a can't-miss prospect coming out of college, went on to have a really good career. he wasn't the juice enough to get what he wanted if he did not have powerful representation. So I'm not in any way saying that Sexton pulls the strings on Nick Saban, but I definitely think Nick Saban listens to his counsel.
I think
why would you want to have an agent that you don't listen to his counsel?
No,
sure.
you'll listen to your counsel, but if your counsel is like, hey man, why you up there on game day? Nick, man, could you just say something about this nonsense that they're saying out there about Lane and making him look like a villain out here? Man, you think you might just want to throw a little lines in your bars on that?
I think that's a
Nick would
definite
be
conversent.
Like, leave me the fuck alone.
I think it's 100% a conversation.
Like,
Conversation.
I know. Are you telling me I don't have to do my job, Jimmy? You know?
Nah, I think he's thinking, I don't really have a take here. And Jimmy's like, I got a take for you. How about this? The schedule's wrong. Billy.
Like, how many coaches, though, have you heard? Like, we heard it with Lane this past week, like in his introductory press conference, where, I mean, no one believes him, but he says, like, I don't even know what I'm getting paid. I just let Jimmy take over. Like, Hugh Freeze in his introductory press conference at Auburn, they were asking him about assistant coaches, and one of the things he said was, I don't know, but Jimmy sent me a list of assistants that he trusts that I should look at. And it's like, hold on a second. What are we talking about here?
Right.
Like, it's wild. And this guy has so many clients that are great and so much power that even when his clients screw over a school, they just call Jimmy back to say, who else do you got that you can kind of put in at our school? Like, it's wild how many schools fire a Jimmy Sexton client. Like Florida fires Billy Napier, hires John Sumrall. Arkansas fires Sam Pittman, hires Ryan Silverfield. Mario Cristobal leaves Oregon for Dan Lanning to come into Oregon, another Jimmy Sexton client. Jay Norvell, fired by Colorado State. They hired Jim Mora Jr. Nick Saban retires. They hired Kalen DeBoer. And then in that whole thing, Jimmy Sexton pretends all of his other clients are going to go to Alabama, so they all also get raises at their schools. So Jimmy's just cashing checks left and right, whether or not his
all
clients
leverage
are
plays.
leaving or not.
Also,
Joe?
like Will Muschamp at Florida was a Jimmy Sexton client, and Florida and Tennessee are supposed to hate each other, and Jimmy Sexton is hiring both of their head coaches and has been doing it for over 2 decades. You know what I mean? Like, if you really break down the wall, it's like there's one guy on both sides of the rivalry that's dictating who the head coach is.
The reason
it's
people
actually
keep
hilarious.
Jimmy Sexton is because he's effective, man.
Right.
What
gets
the
that
fuck?
money, man.
Nobody's goddamn not saying that.
I know. Look,
Like
man,
nobody,
I'm
like,
just
bro,
saying, but
like,
what do you
Joe,
want him to
no
do?
one is saying
What
that
do
he's
you
not
want him
good
to
at
do?
his
Don't
job.
listen to him.
What
What do
the
you want
fuck
Jimmy
is
Sexton
happening,
to
bro?
do?
I'm about to take
What
this
do you-
football and
what do
throw
you
it
want-
into the wall here.
What
Like,
do
no
you
one's
want-
saying he's not good at his job.
What do you
What
want-
we're
what do you
saying
want to
is,
happen? What do you want to happen, man?
it's a unique situation to have a guy with this much influence at all levels of college football at a time where college football is particularly lawless and wild, wild west.
Awful announcing. Van's headline here is that Jimmy Sexton feeds Nick Saban lines on the college game day set.
Joel, but Kirby Smart said who's also a Jimmy Sexton client. Kirby Smart said the exact same thing that Nick Saban said about the situation.
About what, the schedule part of it or whatever?
About how it was the schedule's fault, about how he felt for Lane.
But
it was
that's
a tough
an obvious,
situation.
But I mean, all of that makes sense because Lane is peers with Kirby Smart, and everybody has been talking about the schedule for years. Like, it is the coach's fault, and it's everybody who is not a player and is involved in college football. It's your fault that the schedule is the way that it is.
So let me bring politics into this. So when they were doing the redistricting in California, and after
Billy, we want your
President Trump-
thoughts on this. Yeah,
after President Trump, Billy MAGA. Okay, good to have some diversity on the thing. So
he's the Duke. He's not
the
back.
Duke. So after they did that, we have diversity here. We have different points of view. There's nothing wrong with that here on the.
Are we out of this?
I've plenty of.
How do we, by the way, just gloss over the fact that like minutes ago, Joel had Master P representing Nick Saban?
Well, I'm just saying, I was just like, it's not like
He was gonna have
Shout
Nick
out to
Saban
P,
in
man.
camouflage.
I'm not trying to hate on P.
I'm not trying to hate on P.
I'm not trying to hate on P. I'm just saying
Ricky
Lee
Williams,
Steinberg
man.
had to come in and
was tough.
immediately
I got
renegotiate
a
that
Master
contract.
was in
P
a bad
story for another
situation.
day for you
Right,
guys.
like T. Ferris might have not T. Tavesta Scott might have negotiated that contract with Ricky Williams. I think he was the head of No Limit Sports. Anyway,
That name sounds familiar.
but so the Democrats were like, they were going to do their own redistricting, right? They were going to do their own redistricting, and everybody that came out and talked about this said, we got to fight fire with fire. Everyone said that. Everybody was like, we got to fight fire with fire. We got to fight fire with fire. We got to fight fire with fire. I know enough about like how the media stuff works to know that those lines are coming from somewhere. There's messaging that's happening amongst an intelligentsia of left voices that are saying, this is the way we're going to discuss this. And at the same way on the other side, you go over there and you hear the same line that a swath of politicians use, and they use that line to get their message out to people, and there are talking points that are being disseminated, be it from some group, like whatever, or be it from Turning Point USA, or be it from the Heritage Foundation, whomever it would be. And so I'm saying is, when people are together sort of in this intellectual colloquy, like what ends up happening is there tends to be groupthink. And if all of the coaches are fucking represented by the same fucking guy, at some point they're going to come out and say the same fucking shit.
You think it's a Jimmy Sexton email listserv or a group chat?
Oh my Jesus, Lord have mercy, Jesus Christ, bro.
No, because I understand. I understand all this, but
we don't have
emails. Talking points, those same talking points can be disseminated at an ESPN production meeting. Like this is not. Like it's not.
But
like
why would they be, Joe?
This was not some high level shit.
Where would the talking points come from?
Because it's a simple ass argument. Like it's the easiest thing to say. Like it's the easy to be like, man, well, you know, it's really the schedule. This fucking thing's up here.
It's the easiest thing to say if you're trying to protect or give the vantage point of Lane Kiffin. Though,
if you were trying to alleviate yourself of responsibility of the burden for how things are in the system right now, and you were looking for another villain. You've already tried to say, well, the players are not as loyal right now. They want money. Things are different now. I get they don't have AAU to blame, but maybe they blame 7-on-7 coaches. I'm sure somewhere along the way, parenting, whatever, something
NIL.
And NIL, right. But then they also would just be like, well, man, the NCAA, the way that they've set this whole thing up with the scheduling is really making it difficult for us. Like, it just is one of the more obvious points. Again, I'm not saying that maybe some points weren't disseminated, not saying that, but it's just like, it's not like Jimmy Sexton had to come up with that for people to come up with that. Like, you could think that organically and whatever. And again, I just don't know. Jimmy Sexton worked for Nick Saban. I don't think that Nick Saban needs the Jimmy Sexton to come up with that point. That's all I'm saying.